At this point, you might be thinking to yourself, why are you doing this? Why are you struggling making teeny tiny gloves for a Christmas Muppet when you could have just made a Christmas dress like a regular person? And the answer to that is a bit weird. It's that time of year again where we all sit down and watch our favourite Christmas film for the millionth time. I think we can all agree what the greatest Christmas film is. Say it with me: Muppet Christmas Carol. Because I am an elder millennial or exennial, I think that's what it's called, I was lucky enough to see this film when it first came out, and it has stayed a special place in my heart ever since. I have watched it every single year. I've wanted to do something Muppets Christmas Carol related for a long time now, but I'm not really an 1840s kind of person. It's not a silhouette that really resonates with me. I don't know why, but that's not gonna stop me from making a Christmas Carol themed thing. I don't personally want an 1840s dress for myself, but I can make one for a Muppet. I have dabbled in puppetry before. I have made precisely one actual proper puppet. When I was a kid, I made like sock puppets and finger mouse and stuff like that, but I've only made a proper like Muppet style one once. It turned out okay, some lessons were learnt, and I am hoping I can make something passable as a Muppet this time round. So without further ado, let's crack on. Let's talk design. Right, because I have made a puppet before and it didn't go amazing, but it was okay. I have got some things that I've learnt. The big one being proportions. Last time I made the head way too big, so I think it's okay for the head to be a bit big. If you look at Miss Piggy, for example, her head is quite big in proportion to her body, but this was really big. And in order for it to not look really weird, the puppet ended up being about 4 foot high, which not the best for a hand puppet, a bit too big. So what I've decided to do is make the dress first, get that the size that I want it, and then use that to gauge how big the puppet itself needs to be. So I am using Laughing Moon 114, the ladies 1840s round dress pattern, and I'm using view A. And I've got my pieces here. What I did was basically just opened them in Adobe Acrobat, and then on the print I set the percentage for the scale to 33%, and that's basically given me something that's a third of the size. So I am going to make this and then work out where I'm going from there. Fabric wise, I found this for the dress. I thought it would look really nice. I was originally hoping I could get like a plaid, but for some reason in Abercan there was no plaid fabric. I don't know if there'd been a rush on it or something, but there was nothing. Like usually they have like these bins that have like various lengths of like remnants of fabric in there, and there was nothing. But I thought this looked quite nice. It also is slightly Christmassy as well, which I think fits really, really nicely. Then the puppet itself, I got this fabric. It's got a little bit of stretch to it, which is great. And with the texture of the fabric itself, I realised that this could be quite good for, like, if I pick these little bobbly bits out of the seams, then it should theoretically help to cover up the seam so it won't be as noticeable. So this is going to be the actual colour. Then I'm going to have a little brown nose, and I've not got anything for the eyes yet. I'm going to go to the range for that. I'm thinking if I can get some like ping pong balls or something and cut them in half, that should work for that. It's just going to be a case of size. Oh, my voice has gone funny and I don't know why. And I need to see the size of the head really before I can gauge how big the eyes need to be, because I don't want to get something that's going to be like really, really huge. Next thing, no 1840s lady would be complete without a bonnet. So I got some buckram. I don't know if this is the right kind of buckram, but it was all they had in Abercan, so we shall see, and it's just a bonnet for a puppet, so... I also got this lovely blue and green shot taffeta. It's really, really nice. I couldn't let this pass because it just looks so pretty. If this ends up looking as nice as I think it's going to look, and if they've got more, then I might be tempted to make a dress for myself that involves a bonnet and make it out of this, because it's really, really pretty. And then I just got this for a lining and this for some trim. The other thing I got as well is some synthetic hair. These are clip-in extensions, and I was thinking of basically cutting the little clip bit off and then curling them into like ringlets. Hopefully, like with the bonnet on and stuff, I'm only really going to need to have some poking out the front, so I'm not going to have to worry about needing a full head's worth, but I think this is going to look quite cute. The only other things that I need to get other than the eyes are I need to get some red felt and some black felt and some card to do the inside of the mouth. First things first though, this fabric to make the dress. Okay, so having a bit of a day. I've gained a new friend, which I'm going to keep covered and try and ignore, because I watched this video and now I'm terrified. So we're just going to keep him covered and let him go away in his own time. Back to sewing though. I've got everything cut out. It did occur to me after I had cut everything out that I was like, how am I going to actually finish my edges? Because this is teeny and usually I would serge everything. So what I've done is I've gone round and I have just pinked all my edges, because that is going to be a lot less bulk to deal with. The other thing that I ended up doing was I pinned the back and the fronts together and then tried putting my hand through, and even like properly contorting my hand like that, I couldn't get it through. So I have just enlarged the front neck hole and the back neck hole. I took off about 1/2 inch on each bit, so it's like 2 inches in total, and it fits, like my hand can fit nicely inside it now. I do have a decision to make with the actual puppetiness of it as well, and that is where exactly my hand is going to go. I am leaning towards leaving the back of the bodice open and then having my hand go through there, so I've got essentially like the front and the back of the skirt and then the legs in front of my hand. I think that is going to be the best way to go. I'll just have to finish the edge on the back part of the bodice and make sure again that my hand and like this part of my arm and stuff can actually fit into that. But yeah, I think we're off to a good start. I have drawn on my guides for my darts, so I just need to sew those up. And then it looks like it's a simple case of darts, attaching the front to the back, attaching the skirt, attaching the sleeves, finishing. Because I did view A, which isn't overly complicated. Like these are the different views, and I'm doing this one, which is just button down the front. It does have the little sleeve caps on, but that shouldn't be too hard. There are a lot of buttons, and these buttons are going to have to be teeny tiny, so I may end up having to order some buttons that are like really small, like doll buttons. I'm not 100% sure where I'll get them from, but I'll cross that bridge when I get there. At the moment, priority is just getting all the pieces together. Okay, so I need to do piping for around the neck, the waist and the arms, but this is small. We're talking like doll dress sizes pretty much. So if I did the piping the same size that I would do for me, it's going to look very oversized and kind of comical, and I don't want that. So I am going to use embroidery thread. It's got enough like structure to it that it should like be noticeable as piping rather than looking like I've just used folded up fabric, but it's small enough that hopefully it will look in proportion to everything else. Okay, so yeah, I somehow forgot that piping was a thing that I needed, which is a bit silly because it's 1840s and piping was on everything. I do now have my teeny miniature piping though, and I think it looks really cute. I wish I could have got the stitching even closer to the line, but on my zipper foot there is like a little bit of a gap between where the needle goes in and where the edge is, so that can't really be helped. But I've got my piping. The other thing is I realised that actually I do need to do a lining, because otherwise I don't have anything to stitch down the inside of the piping to. So I've just made myself some little extra ones out of the fashion fabric because I had a reasonable amount of it left. So next steps is going to be assembling the bodice area. So that will basically mean like flatlining the fashion fabric layer and the lining layer together, then attaching the fronts to the backs, and then attaching my piping to the neckline. Then I can fold that in and stitch the little flappy bit on the piping to the lining layer, and it won't be visible at all on the outer layer, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I'm hoping I can get this finished today, because that would be good, and then I've got like the rest of the week to concentrate on making the actual puppet, because I feel like this is going to go together reasonably quickly, where the puppet, that's where things are going to be a bit more complicated. Right, it's actually a couple of days later because I had a bunch of stuff to do, but I have a tiny bodice. This is legitimately adorable. Like, I'm not the kind of person who gets broody and stuff like that, like sees like tiny things and thinks like, oh, little babies and stuff. But I can appreciate the cuteness of some tiny clothes, thinking of it in terms of like going on like a little teddy bear or something like that, like something just really little and cute. Is this going to be a new thing? Like, am I going to become a doll person? Making teeny tiny clothes for little dolls or something? I don't know. We shall see if it ends up going down that route, but This is really, really cute. Little things. I'm happy with the way the piping has gone around the neckline and around the bottom here, but it did get a bit wibbly in places around the armhole. I'm not sure if that is just because it is so tiny and trying to fit what is actually like quite a lot of fabric into that tiny space. There's not as much room for things like seam allowances and it ends up bulking out bits. But it's mainly under the armhole, so you're not going to see it. The other thing is buttons. Now, if I was going to make this kind of more historically accurate, then I would probably want like about 10 buttons down here. But we are working in miniature, and I did go to like the nearest like fabric shop to me, and they didn't have any like really tiny buttons. I do have some that are quite small. It's whether I would have enough to do maybe like 5 or 6 down there, and yeah, they would be a bit oversized. And I know that like with Muppet's Christmas Carol, they were like really, really precise with making sure that things were historically accurate, even though they were on a Muppet. But I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to go that far, purely out of not being able to get materials. The other thing that's occurred to me is corseting. I'm not making a mini corset for a Muppet. That's silly. But what I can do is cut the foam for the chest using the bodice pattern, and then it should give me the correct silhouette. So hopefully that'll be enough for that. But yeah, all I need to do now on these bits is I need to put the sleeves on. It's a regular 1840s sleeve with like a little cap bit on it that kind of goes on the shoulder. And then sewing the skirt on, which is just pleated into it. And I'm obviously going to leave the back part open so I can get my hand in. I'm also going to make a little pelerine, which I've got pattern for here. I do need to alter the neck on this because the neck hole is going to be a bit too small. So I need to match it to the bodice. But yeah, I'm just going to keep that simple. Just got back, front. Not going to make it too fancy. Don't need to. And then I think hopefully I should have this finished today, and then tomorrow we can move on to actually making the Muppet, which is going to be the fun bit. Am I putting pockets in this dress? Of course I am. Even Muppets deserve pockets. Okay, so lots of things have been done. I am a mess. Everyone seems to have a cold and I'm really hoping I don't get it. But Christmas sweater is back on and I finished the little teeny dress. And it is so cute. It's like seriously the cutest thing. I love it. But this gives me a good base now because with having the dress, I can work out the proportions of everything. And I have got foam. It is reasonably thick foam. So I'm thinking I should hopefully be able to get the arms and the legs out of like basically just cutting this into like cubes and then all the way down. Giant rectangles, I suppose. What's the 3-dimensional version of a rectangle? My brain has just gone blank. But yeah, if I do 4 of them, then that'll be the arms and the legs. And then for the body, I'm going to make it in like a corseted shape so that it has the correct silhouette. So for the head, it's going to be half of a sphere, and then a bit of a bottom bit. And then I can add the mouth in with like card and like felt and stuff. And then I'll be able to get my hand inside it and do that. So I think I'm going to use the front bodice pattern as a base pattern for the front section and then kind of pad it out so that it keeps its shape with my hand in it, and then cut out the strips for the legs. I'm going to do a paper pattern for the head just so I can work out the size and stuff and have it look right with the dress. I took a bunch of measurements to work out the length of the limbs. Okay, so I have used the bodice piece as a guide for this. What I've done is I've altered the armhole to just make it like a regular armhole. I've given myself a little bit more room here so that I can actually get my hand through the gap. Here I have switched the darts from being 2 darts to just one big one, and I'm also going to cut it along here as well. That way I can kind of give the impression that there's a corset under there, and I'll have that kind of like definite like line almost. For the arm pieces as well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to round these off first, and then I'm going to cut like a little ridge out so that they can bend properly. And I might add a little kind of floating wedge that's going to be in there just to kind of keep up. Well, I'll see. I might end up doing it with fabric actually. I just want to make sure that I've not got like really hard edges apart from like this one that's supposed to give the impression of a corset. The other thing is this foam is way too thick for this, so I am going to cut out this shape and then I'm going to cut it down the middle here. This way as well I will also get both halves, so I won't have to like copy it out again. So it's a little bit of time saving as well. Right, this is what I've done for the head. Basically I just lay my dress like that and then worked out what looked proportional and would still fit my hand in. The other thing to consider with this is we're also going to have a big bonnet, so I don't want the head to be too big, otherwise the bonnet is going to be out here. It will look a bit silly. So this is what I've kind of come up with, and I've kind of laid out the features. So we've got the mouth here, nose, eyes. So I'm going to just make sure that this is even, and then I can start doing some calculations and working out what kind of shapes I need to make on the foam in order to achieve this. Okay, this is what I've come up with. It's a little bit high, but at least I know now that like this bit is right. I just need to make these bits a little bit shorter and then that'll be fine. This is the kind of shape that I've got going on. Yeah, so all I need to do, I think, is just shorten these down by like an inch maybe, and then curve this. And then I think we will be okay. So I'll just need to make 4 of those. Actually, no, I only need to make 3. I'll end up getting 4 because I need to cut this in half to get each one. So it'll be good to have redundancy. I can have one that's like a practice one, and I can see what little bits need like messing about with, because I'll basically need 2 for the top to make the top of the head, and then 1 that's kind of cut off along the bottom for the bottom jaw, and then the bottom back section of the head that needs to stay open so I can fit my hand in. I voice over in this bit because I wasn't feeling very well at the time, which was just fantastic, especially 2 days before Christmas. We've got a little head and a little mouse. And we've got a little nose for the little head. We've got the body, which will be shaped like that. this is the pattern that I ended up using for the head in the end. And we've got some little hands, arms, legs, and some little feet. They will go like that and make a full leg. What I need to do today is I need to use this fabric to cover the body, legs and head. I stitched the darts on the head and pulled the fibres out of the seams. I then stitched the body and limb pieces. It's now Christmas Eve. I was hoping to get this video done before Christmas Day, but it is looking highly unlikely. It will probably be Boxing Day instead. But anyway, the other half let me have one of my presents early. And it is a new hot glue gun. The one that I was using was battery powered and it would run down the batteries in like an hour. It was really bad and it'd take about 15 minutes to heat up as well. So this is what we've got. This one had really good reviews on Amazon, so I will put a link to this actually for anybody who wants one. Well, if it's good, I'll test it out. I got some little glue sticks with it. I've got loads anyway, so yes. Today we are doing the mouth. So I'm going to move all this stuff out of the way for a moment. And I've got some card, which is red, although that doesn't really matter because it's going to be getting covered up with felt. And I have peeled back the skin on my Muppet and I need to measure these bits so that I can make a pattern. I'm going to do it in centimetres because that's more accurate in my mind. I am a British person, so I struggle with inches sometimes. I can do half an inch, I could do increments of like a quarter of an inch, but then anything more complicated than that, then my brain just malfunctions. Right, so 19. And it is the same on both. So I need to make a thing where the curvy bit is 19. And for that, I do actually have a thing. A bendy ruler. So I'm going to make this into a curve. I'm going to use the edge. I can make this more accurate, I just realised. I can do it on paper and then true it up. I'm going to do that instead. I say sometimes we do things properly on this channel. I suppose properly would be to use like a special type of ruler or something for it, but I'm not going that far. This is just a Muppet. If it was like an item of clothing or something that I needed to get like really, really well, like perfect, then yeah, but this is a Muppet. I'm just going to pop this into her little mouth hole and see if that's going to work. That is actually a little bit too small, and this is why we make little mock-ups, and I'm very, very glad I didn't start cutting it out of the actual card. So that needs to be about 3mm bigger on each bit. That is pretty good. I'm going to go with that. So now we just need 2 of these. Okay, so we now have our 2 halves, which make a good circle. And what we're going to do, we're going to get our craft felt, and we are going to draw a full circle instead of just a half. And now I need to stick this onto here. I'm going to leave a little tiny bit of a gap, like a millimetre, just so I've got some wiggle room for opening and closing. And I think it's now actually time to test out the new hot glue gun. Right, I've got this bit stuck down. That bit went a bit wonky, but it's okay. I've marked the middle, and I need to put this little back of the throat bit there. Oh, I just need to tidy up that line. There we go. So yeah, I just need to put that there. There is a little tongue bit that needs to go there, but I've not been able to make it yet because I need to get to the range and get some pink felt. On another note, this glue gun is really good. It's no drip as well. Like, this is just amazing. I'm not losing half of my glue. Right, and before I stick that into the mouth, I want to put some little straps on the back here for my thumb and my fingers. That way I don't end up like with slipping and stuff. I'm just going to put a little bit more glue under here. Make sure that's actually properly stuck down. Right, so I need to work out the width that I need for my strappy straps. So I think up to there for that one. This doesn't need to be precise because nobody's ever going to see it apart from you guys. So the trick's going to be holding it closed and putting this over so I can work out exactly where it needs to go. Right, now that I've got that one, I need to work out this one. Right, now my fingers aren't going to come unslipped. They are coming out gradually that way, but once my hand's actually in the puppet, I'm going to have some resistance on this side because of the back of the head. Next step is going to be gluing this to the inside of the mouth on the puppet. Okay, now that I've got this glued down, I need to attach these bits around the edges to cover up these nasty raw edges and make it look a lot nicer. So we're getting there. We're slowly getting there. This is actually a lot harder than you'd think it is because this slips around everywhere. Right, I'm just going to let that fully dry and then we can move on to other things, but I'm really, really happy with that. I think once the tongue's in there as well, it will give it a bit more dimension. Okay, so Christmas has decided to bring me the lovely gift of a cold. Just wonderful. I'm okay though, it's just a bit of a scratchy throat and sneezing and stuff, I'll be okay. But although I was given strict instructions of no work on Christmas, I was a little bit naughty, and I did kind of like disguise it as I want to play with my new hot glue gun. So I did end up getting some more work done on Christmas Day and on Christmas Eve. So this is where we are up to. She now has a complete face and she has some hair. I haven't done much with the hair other than just kind of sticking it on top and tying it in the back. I need to actually style it. I'm not going to do the ringlets because I don't have a steamer, and that kind of thing you really, really need a steamer. So I'm just going to do the kind of like straight along there, and then with the bonnet. Speaking of bonnets, I have done this. It needs some decoration going on it. I also need to figure out a way for it to kind of stay put. The problem is with this, I have made it to like a normal kind of human head with a bun in the back, but this is not a normal human head. So it's wanting to kind of slide back, so I'm going to have to do something to make it kind of stay in the right position. But it's a good base to work off, and I just need to put decorations on it. What I am currently working on are some little gloves. I have discovered that making teeny tiny gloves is actually really hard. It's so fiddly. My first couple of attempts just didn't work, so I am now taking a different approach, making them, because I was making them like two flat pieces and then just sewing them, and that just didn't work. So I'm doing it with the bits in between the fingers, like yeah, kind of leather gloves and stuff like that, that kind of style. And I have looked, and this style of glove was a thing back in the 1840s. So I'm not being like proper like out of date and too modern with it, even though this is a Muppet. At this point, you might be thinking to yourself, why are you doing this? Why are you struggling making teeny tiny gloves for a Christmas Muppet when you could have just made a Christmas dress like a regular person? And the answer to that is a bit weird. I have always loved puppets. When I was a kid, I had quite a few. Obviously, I had a sooty. I think I had a sweep as well. I had a raccoon, which was really, really cute, and ended up being one of my dog's toys after a while, because she just kept taking it. She loved it. I had a werebear, which if you're old enough to remember werebears, the head folded back, and you had like a good bear and a bad bear, but that meant that it had like a pocket in the back when it was the bad bear, so you could stick your hand in it and make it into a puppet. Not its intended purpose, but it's what I used it for. And also boglins. Like I had one of the kind of bigger boglins, and you could stick your hands in it and you could make its mouth move and stuff, and yeah, I absolutely loved it. But the thing that I love most about puppets, and this is a sensory thing, and It's probably not going to make sense to anybody else, but for me, it's when you have this hard card bit inside and then the feeling of making it talk, and like this bit, I don't know why, it's just a sensory delight to me. I don't know why, it's just so cool. I don't know why, but just from a sensory perspective, I just really, really love this. I need to make more puppets with a mouth like this just because it's so nice. Seriously, if you haven't tried doing this, just get 2 pieces of cardboard cut in half and just do that for a bit. It's so good. So good. Right, back to making gloves. You are probably going to notice me wearing this big purple thing in pretty much every video from now on until like the summer, because the other half got it for me to replace my dressing gown, which was very worn out, and it is the coziest thing in the world. It also has pockets, of course, so this is my new favourite thing. Okay, so it's a little bit roomy in places, but I am pretty proud with that. What I need to do with this now is I need to feed some wire up into each of the fingers so that I can bend them and stuff. Okay, it's a couple of days later. My cold is a lot better. I'm still a bit snuffly, but I'm not like dying like I was before. So what I have done in the meantime, I've made some little tiny hands. These are just so cute. I'm really, really pleased with them. I need to shape them a little bit more though. This one is a little bit poofy on that side, and this one needs its poof on the other side, and needs these little fingers turning inwards. Ooh, notification. But yeah, what I need to do now is attach these to her arms. I'm going to roll back, and I am also going to switch the hot glue gun on because it's all hot glue from here. And there's actually not that much to do. Actually, no, I tell a lie, it's not all hot glue from here. I do have to sew a button on the little thing. Right, so as soon as that's heated up, we are going to glue our little stumps in here. Oh, I think we're hot enough. The no drip thing on this hot glue gun didn't last very long. Literally after a few uses it started dripping. But we can live with that. I've had a drippy hot glue gun before. The last one was very drippy. Give that 30 seconds. And then I'm going to roll the skin that way, and then I'm going to roll the glove this way. Ordinarily I would finish the edge on the glove, but because it's going to be hidden underneath the sleeve, it's not that important. It's not going to see enough friction or anything like that to worry about it fraying. Right, hands are on. So I want to finish the bonnet. So the first thing I want to do is add some ribbon trim. And I've also got this that I thought would look nice around the top inner bit here. So first things first, one problem I do have is because this is like on an angle, the ribbon isn't going to sit totally flush, so I might have to trim into it in some areas to make a little dart essentially. I got some plain ribbon. I thought this colour would look quite nice with this. We'll see though. I might try making some little flowers to do around there, but we'll see. We'll see if it's needed. Right, before I do the little flowers to cover up my mistakes, because it's always good to have a backup to hide the crimes, I am going to attach this. I'm waiting for that to dry so I can move on. I want to know what you watched over Christmas. Always good to get some ideas for other things to watch. On Christmas Eve we did Midnight Mass, which isn't Christmassy, but it's still good. I would highly recommend it. It's done by the same guy who did Haunting of Hill House and Blythe Manor, and yeah, really, really good. Christmas Day we did Star Wars Christmas Special, which was certainly a thing, and it happened. And that is all I can say. The hardest part of this is trying to make sure that I don't accidentally glue the little threads, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to gather it up anymore. Inside bit's been done. Got little flowers on there. At some point I might fill these in all the way and make it like a thing of flowers, but I am hoping to get this video out before New Year, so I do not have the time right now. Same with, she's supposed to have petticoats and stockings, but I just don't have the time for that. One thing that I am going to do though, some little shoes. She needs her little feet covered. I don't have any like thin leather or anything like that I can use, but I do have craft felt. So I figure it should be okay. At some point if I feel like making some better ones I can, but for now at least she will have shoes. So I need to take a few little measurements. I think I'm going to make these in the same way that I would make gaiters. I've got a reference, so I know that I want some lacing down the insides and then like a little toe cap thing. I'm actually wondering if I might be better off making them in brown, because I do have some brown felt as well, and then doing the little toe thing in the black, because that will be quite similar to ones that I've seen online from the time period. Because although I'm not doing this like historically accurate, I do want it to kind of look like I've at least tried. So I am going to get on this and draw myself a basic pattern. Right, these are my pieces for my pattern. So this is on the outside edge. These are the inside and they will cross over like that. And then this is the sole. I've done it with a flat toe because looking through pictures of 1840s shoes, they seem to have a flat toe on them. So next thing I need to do is cut this pattern out of the felt. I am going to be a bit lazy and just hot glue them together because it's going to be quicker. I cut out the pieces for the boots, and then the last thing was to sew a button for the pelerine, and then it was done. so pleased with how this project has gone. I mean, look at her. She looks amazing. There was so much that could have gone wrong with this, and there are some things that did, I'm not gonna lie, but on the whole, I think she looks fantastic. She's so emotive, it's brilliant. Things that I liked. First off, I'm really pleased with her outfit. I think that looks really, really nice. I think the decision to use the foam base to shape the outfit was successful, although I think it would be nice to add a few things, like to make the skirt more poofy and stuff like that. Maybe add like a little layer of foam around the hips just to pad that out. I also think the face has worked out really, really nicely as well. It would have been nice if I could have made her eyes glossy, but I used polystyrene, and I did try to use some nail varnish to give them a little sheen, but it kind of just dissolved the polystyrene and looked really, really horrible and kind of lumpy. It wasn't a good look. So in future, if I was to do it again, I probably wouldn't have used polystyrene. It's just that's all I had access to at the time. Things I think could have gone better. The bonnet, although it does look really nice, it was a bit of a hassle. It doesn't want to stay on her head very well. It wants to kind of slip around, which is a bit annoying. And it ends up making her face look a little bit lopsided because it's supposed to be more like that and it's not doing it. The decoration of it, though, I do think's nice. I probably will add some more little flowers to this as well, just to even it out. The hands. The hands didn't go as planned. It ended up not being as sturdy. The gloves were really, really hard to make, and I also couldn't find any kind of long, sturdy poles to use to like operate her hands, so they're not as mobile and stuff as I would have liked them to be. Other than that, though, I'm really, really pleased. I think she looks amazing. But it's not just about what I think. What do you think?
Well, I'm pretty pleased with how everything looks. I am wondering though, why did you make my face green?
Well, you see, I had a number of options in the shop. The most important thing to me, though, was getting some fabric that was the right texture.
So, whatever you could find then.
Yeah. I would have gone with a different colour if I could have found some.
I don't appear to have any underwear.
Oh. Right. I will make you some. I promise I will make you some at some point. Overall, though, are you pleased with the project? Are you glad that I have made you exist?
Yes.
Good. Successful project then.
It's in the singing of a street corner choir. It's going home and getting warm by the fire.
No. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Why?
Because I was really late with the video and it is not Christmas anymore. I'm sorry. I did wear a Christmas dress. Does that make up for it? Okay then. I hope you've all enjoyed this project as much as I have. It's been really, really fun. As always, doing all of the YouTubey things is very much appreciated. Like, comment, share. If you have supported me on my Ko-fi page, you will see your name running along the side of the screen. Thank you very much indeed. It is very much appreciated. Anything that you contribute via my Ko-fi page goes directly back into the channel. It goes towards things like fabric, cotton, patterns, things like that. So it really is appreciated. Thank you. I hope you've all had a wonderful Christmas and a brilliant New Year's, and I hope that 2024 is going to be a fabulous year. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!
And YouTube thinks that you'll enjoy this video next. Bye!